You're my life, you're my breath, you're a smile, you're my guest. You're the earth, you're the sun, you're the grass, you are love. You're my hands, you're a bug, you're my eyes, you're a hug. You're the light in the dark, you're the spark, you are fun. You're my mom, you are water, you're the stars, you're my daughter. You're my friend till the end, you're my dreams, you're my father. You're the ants on the ground, the miracles that surround. I'm feeling it all around, the hemisphere in the clouds. You're my pain, you're my sorrow, you're my hope for tomorrow. You're the strength when I'm hollow, you're the path that I follow. You're the blessings that exist, the small things that
Welcome to Coffee and Conversation with Coaches. I think I'm going to rename it to Coffee, Conversation, and Connection with 4 Coaches. I'm so happy to see you guys. I can't even believe it. And I'm a little nervous, just a little. I'm Stefani Turken. I'm a life coach. I support people who've been newly diagnosed with chronic conditions, and I help healthcare heroes get through their burnout. My stepfather battled PSP, and CurePSP was very helpful and caring to my family. I'm a mom to 4 cats, and you might see one of them walking around. I'd like to thank CurePSP for their Wellness Wednesdays. We could all use more self-care. The music you just heard is a song called Grateful. It was written by Nimish Patel and Daniel Namad. And Mr. Patel graciously gave us permission to use this beautiful and meaningful music. You'll hear more of it later. Let's meet our coaches. Lisa, I'm going to start with you.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Steph. I am Lisa Pachentz. I am a professional certified coach. I'm a mentor coach for coaches, and I own LP Coaching, a life and leadership coaching company. I specialize in working with unfulfilled high achievers, so big-hearted, highly ambitious women leaders who are craving extraordinary impact, but without the exhaustion. And I work with these people because I was one and went through the transformation needed to knock the overwhelm cycle and live life beyond the balancing act.
Stacy?
Hey, thanks for having me today. So good to see you. I'm Stacy Jackson, and I am a licensed clinical social worker, and I've been working with a youth development and social services nonprofit for 25 years. I've been the executive director of that nonprofit for 9. I'm also a life and leadership coach, and I live in Chicago. My mother lives with me, and my mother is also suffering with dementia.
Justin?
Yeah. Thanks for having me on, Stephanie. It's really good to see all you guys here. So first of all, I'm a life coach. I also, I've had a recent stint as an essential worker in a grocery store. Just helping people get food and everything. So that's been fun. But my real passion is coaching and being one-on-one with people, and being able to go deep and help them get to where they want to go to. So that's my main thing, and then also. Just working on myself, really. For the journey for the past several years has just been self-care and just taking care of me and figuring out all the ways holistically that I can take care of this body and mind and soul and spirit. So that's kind of been my journey, for like I said, for the past several years. Yeah, so now I'm helping other people do that with life coaching.
So I'd like to remind everyone that we are being recorded. And I'd like you to share as much or as little as you want to make yourself comfortable. It's not like a usual setting where nobody else can hear us. There will be plenty of people joining us. So I just want everybody to be comfortable. The topic today is going to be overwhelm, which I'm sure all of us have right now. I know I do. Before we begin, though, I'm going to have us take 3 deep breaths.
All that I am, all that I see, all that I've been, and all that I'll ever be is a blessing. It's so amazing, and I'm grateful for it all,
So first, I'm going to start with the question, what are you grateful for? And I'll start with Justin. What are you grateful for today, Justin?
Sunshine. Really grateful for sunshine and like the warmth of the sun and feeling it like on your skin, with its face or whatever you can, uncover so far in Chicago, Chicagoland. So sun.
Lisa, what are you grateful for?
I'm so grateful for my family, especially my husband, who has been a warrior and saint during this time of COVID.
Stacy?
I was going to say sunshine as well, Justin, just because it means so much, especially at this time of year. But I'm going to flip and say that I'm really grateful for authors who put together stories for us to dive into.
I'm grateful for this day and the fact that we can all see each other even though we're not together. It's just really, for me, to be able to connect with you during this time is really beautiful. So, overwhelm. Who wants to start with overwhelm? Are any of you in overwhelm right now? I mean, I know I know I was this morning.
Yeah. This is the most I've had to put myself together in a while because normally when I show up at the grocery store, I'm wearing a mask for 8 hours, so I don't really have to do much. I'm running around, going everywhere, my hair's going crazy. Like, I'm not going to do my hair too much. So this overwhelm was like just actually having to put on a face today.
Same. uh, I am feeling a little overwhelmed. We have our gala this Friday, so there's lots of details flying around and trying to keep and juggle the different parts of my life together. And I have this nagging feeling, I've had it all day long, that I'm forgetting something important.
I get that way sometimes as well.
It'll figure itself out, whatever it is.
Yeah. It's amazing that no matter how smart or put together or scheduled or organized we are, the label of overwhelm pops up and attaches itself to things that happen in life. I'm not overwhelmed right now, but that label of overwhelm, it has been a constant companion in a lot of my life, especially as a recovering overachiever. So most of my life has been plagued with this idea of overwhelm and am I enough? And is it too much? Am I enough for the too much? But a lot of my clients, especially, are experiencing overwhelm. I don't know too many people who don't have that experience and haven't had that experience during COVID.
I feel like when I'm not in control, I feel like I get overwhelmed if I'm not in control of something. Do any of you feel that way? Is that like what happens when you get overwhelmed? You feel like you're not in control?
Yeah.
So what I do to get into control of something so I don't feel so, oh my gosh, I know that I can control what I eat. So that helps. Um, what are the things that overwhelm you?
Email.
Mm,
Being surrounded by people.
I can imagine at a grocery store that's hard, Justin. Good for you for managing that.
That's been my practice the past years, managing overwhelm. Yep.
so how do you work through that?
A lot of breathing and grounding exercises, lots of therapy,
Breathing helps.
getting out of the situation. Ultimately, if all my tools and everything I have fails, last ditch, you just got to get the heck out of there. Got to go somewhere else. Just go somewhere else. Get out of that situation. So that's pretty much been my practice. Go through all the tools and everything I know to do, blah blah blah, whatever I have practiced, over the years of healing myself. And when all those fail, just go somewhere else where I'm not overwhelmed.
What tools work the best for you?
Okay, so right off the bat is breathing. I mean, that's because it's always available. I mean, it's always there for you, and that's usually the first thing to check. I'm like, oh, is my breathing really tight? Is it in my chest? Okay, like probably I'm getting stressed somewhere or something that's ticking me off. So then it's first like, okay, just recognize where the breath is. And then it's like, okay, start working it back into the stomach, start breathing so fast, start to like time it out, like 1, 2, 3, 4, in and out, stuff like that. But again, it's just noticing. That's the first thing. I just have to notice, I don't always notice either that I'm getting overwhelmed and, you could say, certain Hulk style things start coming out. So the practice is just catch myself before I get into Hulk mode, so.
Stacy, what do you do when you're overwhelmed?
Well, what I'm finding for myself and for my clients is that a lot of overwhelm for me has something to do with how I have it in my mind. So generally, I have put more meaning onto something than really needs to be there. So I might get at it with the whole one bite of the elephant at a time thinking, or I also might drill it down to what's most important about this. So when I was running a program for kids, young people, and we would go on a field trip that was just bananas, my bar, and I didn't feel like I could control it, but my bar was, is everybody safe? And that's what's most important. So for most everything, like for my mom, is she as healthy as can be right now? Is she safe? Is she taking the right medications? So I just boil it down once I realize that I am actually overwhelmed. It's easy to kind of stay and spin in that, but breathing does help.
So your mom lives with you, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
So you're working and you have clients and you have this gala coming up and your mom living with you. It can be overwhelming.
It can be overwhelming at times. And um, I reach out for my support team as much as possible. So people on my actual team, um, friends my mom has, my friends, that's really useful and important to me. And then, there are certain, I mentioned authors before because sometimes diving into a beautiful chapter really helps. And, just a, a half an hour of an escape, if you can find a half an hour, tends to really, sort of reset me.
Yeah, I've found that I've discovered baking bagels very therapeutic. Punching that dough, rolling that dough, smells up the house delicious.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's been really helpful for me to find some kind of, because yes, I read books. How much, TV and movies, you have to find something else, maybe it's Pilates or Nia or yoga
Yeah.
or baking.
I've also found that it's really important for me to have a project that I'm working on that is for me. So it could be that I'm training for something, or I took on this mental toughness physical challenge that I'm in the middle of right now. That has taken up a lot of my mind that I would normally use for, spinning in my head. So that's been really beneficial just to have that thing for me.
Lisa, do you have a thing for you?
I have many things for me. My life is multidimensional. Since overwhelm is such a prevalent automatic for me, there are many different coping mechanisms that I created over time to distance myself from what triggers me, from what triggers that overwhelm. Because once you're in overwhelm, the best you can do is just to gain a little bit of space from that emotion so that you give yourself time to respond. And for me, that's priority number one. So breathing's really helpful. Getting up and walking around, literally just changing your environment.
Mhm.
I have a really pretty balcony in our condo here. So sometimes going outside, getting some fresh air is enough to give myself some distance. And then once I'm in that space, that's when the behavioral change can happen, when I can really take a look at, okay, what's actually causing this? What's triggering this? What's the belief that has me feel or has me label this as overwhelm? And oftentimes it's some form of out of control. Like you said, I believe that overwhelm is just the opposite of control. It means that you're not enough, or you can't fix it, or there's something that you haven't prepared for. So for me, it's a matter of getting back to, I don't have to fix this. It's okay. And if I was in process, if I was just taking little steps at a time, what's the first easiest thing that I can do to address this? It might be writing down my thoughts. Like, I have several presentations and speaking engagements this month, and my mind usually goes to, like, I don't have them done yet. Well, of course I don't have them done yet. They're later this month. I will get to it. But then being able to say, okay, what's the next thing I need to do for this thing? Okay, I'm going to plan that out, and I'm going to put that in my calendar. But there's a lot of things that can trigger the overwhelm. I think it depends. For me, I always like to go back to either partnership or play. So what can I do to bring movement or play into my life? What are some hobbies I can have? Or who can I partner with? Who can reflect that, like, this is just me thinking crazy thoughts? Those are oftentimes my antidotes to my overwhelm.
I think so too. Also, I think I know like from my mom taking care of my stepfather, one thing that Stacy said about that is having a support system. Having a support system really really helps everybody, because that way, if you are taking care of someone and taking care of yourself, it's really important that you take care of yourself. And I can't stress that enough, how much it is to take care, to have self-care, whatever it might be, whether it's, taking a break. I know my mom used to have people come in every so often so she could go out for a couple hours, even if it was just, to the grocery store, or to take a walk, or to go to a movie, or just, go have coffee with a friend. And like Lisa said, to get out of your environment. Um, I think all those things, are very helpful. Justin, what about you? Do you take care of anybody?
Yes, I take care of myself. I didn't always just take care of I didn't always take care of myself, though. I usually just took care of everyone else. That was my main, mode of operating. I just took care of everyone else because it made me happy. I was like, oh yeah, like, I made somebody else happy by doing X, Y, and Z, and they're happy, and I'm happy, sweet, and it worked great for a while. But at some point, I was exhausted, and I was like, why do I, like, hate everyone? Like, really, I'm like resenting everyone, a lot of people, and hate people. And it was because I wasn't actually taking care of this guy first. You got to fill up your own glass before you can, pour into somebody else's. It's just, put on your own mask before you, in the airplane, it's the airplane analogy. We all know that. Put on your own mask first before you put on the other person's mask. It seems so simple and obvious. Just take care of yourself. But there's a lot of, like, stuff in the way sometimes of taking care of yourself. There's, like, a lot of ego and beliefs and training, and, like, if I take care of myself, then I'm not going to take care of somebody else. And it's all those beliefs. But
Right. So you feel guilty if you don't take care of someone else before you, right?
yeah, and like, what you guys were just saying, like, really, you got to reach out for help too. Like, part of the overwhelm was, like, I don't want to put other people in this overwhelm because I'm in it right now and it feels like crap. It sucks. Like, I don't want to put anybody else through this. I don't want to reach out and ask for help and bring somebody else down to here. But honestly, it's like, that's the only way out. Like, I've tried climbing out of the hole on my own. I've never made it out on my own. I can get close to the top, but you need that hand reaching in just to give you that little final boost to get you out. Like, you can only get so far on your own. So it's,
What gives you the courage? Sorry, Justin. What gives you the courage to ask for assistance?
Hitting rock bottom, trying everything else first, trying everything else first, and realizing, okay, I've tried literally everything and I've been miserable still. I guess I'll ask for help. So it's not. I'm not saying that's the way to do it, but that's just how I'm shortening the process now. Instead of like hitting my head against the wall repeatedly before asking for help, I'm like, oh, I could ask for help at this point, in the overwhelm cycle, or before I get too overwhelmed, I can ask for help now before it gets so out of control that it's just a mess. So, so yeah, bringing it all together. That's kind of how that works.
Is there anything you need right now, Justin?
Yeah, God, so much. I pretty much I'm in the process of leaving my job. Yeah, my grocery store job, because it literally is always overwhelmed. There's nothing I've tried. Like I said, I literally have all the tools. I've tried every single thing. Um, but that job literally turns me into the worst version of myself. The overwhelm. I can't do anything about the overwhelm, and I've like really I'm accepting that. Like, hey, I've done everything. There's nothing wrong with me. This is just who I am. Doesn't fit into this place anymore, and I'm really nervous and scared about going forward, and you know, not working there anymore, because I've worked there for 8 years, and it's been like pretty much most of my adult life, if you will, grown up there and developed so much. And there's been a lot coming from that job, but I don't know what I need right now. But I'm just happy to be here with you guys. I think this is what I needed. So thanks.
Well, we're happy to have you. Anybody else have anything else they'd like to add?
What you were saying about self-care is so important. And used to just like, self-care, what is that? And the reason is because, as human beings, we're so resilient and tough, and we can get a lot of things done on fumes, but I really started to see it more like a car and an oil change. I mean, you can drive your car for a little while with the oil low, but eventually we know what happens. So knowing that it's the same for us has helped me be a little bit more mindful about that.
I also love the concept of self-care within overwhelm too, because self-care seems to be counterintuitive to the idea of overwhelm. At least in my mind, when I'm overwhelmed, I think I need to do more in order to fix the overwhelm. But self-care is such a wonderful application to get yourself back to being and back to groundedness. And yes, it does fly in the face of our busyness, or the epidemic of busyness in life. And I love what you said, Stacey, about how resilient human beings are. We are so resilient. If we somehow survived for hundreds of thousands of years, it's amazing, because we have this survival mechanism part of our brain that has us do that. But operating purely from survival, it is so damaging to your nervous system if you operate from it for too long. So it's like that oil change. It's like a refresher. It's like vacuuming your car for the first time in a long time. And you go, oh, I forgot I had that compartment, or I forgot it can smell so good in here. It's the difference between like the survival and the really living optimally. And sometimes we have to survive, and that's totally fine too. I think loving yourself through that is part of the process of transformation. And then being able to get to the other side when you quit Trader Joe's, or quit your corporate job, or change your living situation, and then go, oh, okay, now it's time to live optimally.
Wow. You guys are so amazing. Each and every one of you. Thank you for showing your vulnerability, Justin, your courage, Stacy, your wisdom, Lisa. I can't thank you enough for doing this with me and for CurePSP. I'm going to leave you with a quote by Emily Dickinson. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches on the soul and sings the tune without words and never stops at all. Thank you.
See